What's up, fam, and welcome back to Recap Kickback. This is our finale podcast for Bel-Air Season 3, Episode 9 and 10 here on recapkickback.com. If you're listening to this on the Bel-Air, a post-show recap podcast feed, now is your chance to subscribe to recapkickback.com because next season will not be there. It won't be there. That means if you're listening, you know to no longer be subscribed to that and to come subscribe to this because here on Recap Kickback, we're talking about all the cool stuff that we used to talk about on Bel-Air Post Show Recap, that we used to talk about on the Connect, and we're bringing new stuff too. But you're going to miss out if you do not subscribe here at recapkickback.com/subscribe. That said, I'm Chappell, and I'm going to take you through Bel-Air Season 3, Episode 9 and 10, the finale of Season 3, with none other than my co-host, who you all come to grow and know and love here on the Recap Kickback. It's Pooya. Pooya, what's good?
Everything, man. Wow. Dude, read, like, if you're watching the video, you see what I've said under my name. What just happened? What a finale. More importantly, what a final 5 minutes of the finale.
Yeah.
So much happened. That finale was nuts, and I cannot wait to talk about it with you. We had some big surprises in these two episodes, I think.
Oh yeah, episode 9 and episode 10 almost don't even feel like they're connected because there was so much going on in episode 9, and then episode 10 just focuses on Hillary, her wedding to Lamarcus, and then like you said, that last 5 minutes of content just kind of takes you and says, hey, if you thought about tapping out, season 4 is going to come one day and you want to be ready for all the drama that's coming then. So I agree, there was so much, but I'm so happy that I get to unpack all of this with you.
Same. Can't wait, man. Okay. I don't want to bear. Okay. How do you want to go about this today? Because I feel like there's a lot. So do you want to just start from the top, go sequential from 9 on, or do you want to hip hop around?
I think we got to hop around. Hop around because there's some big headlines that we got to talk about and about these last 2 episodes.
Okay. So first things first, your boy Drew is back.
My boy Drew is back. You know what? Honestly, I ain't gonna lie to you. For a split second, I was like, oh man, not Drew. And then I thought, no, I like this. I like any time Will and Carlton have an external enemy. You know,
yes.
Like when they're fighting each other, I don't like it. But when they have somebody they can team up against, somebody who like they can rally against, that is kind of my bag. And so when Drew came back, I got very excited because I love a good villain. And Drew's the worst kind of villain. You know, he's a villain that really don't have a lot of power. He's just wielding the little bit that he has over Will and Carlton. And so seeing him back in this finale episode as the investor, the person who is now going to take Vxllage to the next level and, you know, maybe push his own influence on the brand, I was very excited to see that. And I'm hoping that it seeps over into season 4.
Same. I really think that they kind of gave us a broader picture of things to come because ultimately it just looked like, okay, Vxllage was a successful thing, but then they're going back to school. So I think adding in Drew into this really adds another layer of complexity. As of right now, it looks like they're all going to find common ground to work together, but also, like Carlton said, beating him up was one of the highlights of the year. So that's always in the background.
One of my favorite moments of this entire series was Carlton beating up Drew. You know, again, we talked about this. Carlton is not one to be F with. Him and Jeffrey, you know, maybe at first glance, they don't seem like they're that threatening, but they got them hands and feet for you every time. And so I'm very excited to see what's going to happen here because Will had to go make some moves this episode with the Vxllage. They had a lot of investors interested in the brand. And so Carlton was tied up with all the Amira drama that I'm sure we're going to talk about. And so Will had to take, you know, the matters into his own hands. And he was saying he could have sold to the highest bidder, but instead he wanted to work with somebody who had similar interests as him and Carlton in helping Black and brown people, you know. And so while at first glance that sounds amazing, it turns out that it's true. And so now you have 2 people that really don't get along, or 3 people that really don't get along, 2 different sides that are combating, but they both have the same goals. And if they're on the same team, they should be working together, right?
I mean, that should be the logical outcome, yes, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I think this is kind of common. You see a lot of organizations that do the same exact work, but don't necessarily move in the exact same way, have the same exact like motivations, but the outcomes look different. So I don't think it's out of the ordinary for competing sides to, maybe go their own routes and try to tackle the problem. But in theory, it should be better if they're all putting their heads together.
Yeah, they typically say 3 is company.
Yeah.
So
or
not a crowd.
crowd. Yeah. And we see a little bit of that with Uncle Phil as well. He will be reaching out to Omar Campbell, and now they are even going to be partnering and helping with this whole gentrification issue. So the backstory on that is that we know that Omar was not having it with Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil wasn't having it with Omar. Uncle Phil wanted to make sure there were a lot more protections in the contracts for these for this like development, right? They want to make sure they use Black contractors and local businesses were protected and got tax breaks and all this other stuff. Omar wasn't having it, but by the end they were able to put their heads together and really come to an agreement. And now they've established a new coalition that will be the main investors for this project, and they're going to take all of those things in consideration. And so really it feels like the community is all on one page. And now again we see those two sides that might have different views, but they have the same goals, able to come together and work together and collaborate in a way that's successful and benefits everybody, despite some of the drama we saw unfold over these last 3 episodes.
Yeah, this was probably the quickest tidy up of a plot line you'll ever see. It was like, oh my God, Jazz went to jail. What's going to happen? He has a record. Oh my God, Will's confessing to the crime. He's going to go to jail. Only for episode 10 to be like, nope, everything's dropped. We've forgotten about the arson. It doesn't exist anymore. Cool.
Yeah. I think a friend of the podcast, Jay West, tweeted out that the last 2 episodes should have been called Everybody Hates Will. And for a second, it really did feel like that because this whole Jazz situation, Carlton immediately throws Will under the bus and says like, why y'all in my business when y'all should be looking at your nephew?
What a little snitch, man.
You know what? Carlton have been, we've been gaining so much traction. We stopped bashing Carlton. We spent the first 2 seasons spending every episode bashing Carlton to some extent. And I think
to the point where we didn't want to be called Carlton. We'd fight each other to not be called the Carlton.
You were sending me Carlton memes. It was a whole thing.
It
was
good times.
The best of times, the worst of times. But he's back. Carlton is being a brat again, and he's hurt. He's hurt by the whole Amira situation. He blames Will, but he immediately throws Will under the bus to Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, and then throws him under the bus to Lisa as well. But if not to Carlton, everybody will know that Will was involved in this fire. And like you said, they tidy it up very quickly. But for a second, I didn't think it was going to go away so fast.
No, I for sure thought that. Is this like Will's going to kind of be in the similar boat to Carlton, where now he has this reputation and he has to build from the ground up? I thought he was on that trajectory, but Carlton did shade him at one point, was like, yeah, well, you're going to get bailed out just like you did last time. And sure enough, Will, record polished. No one thinks anything differently of him.
But Carlton, like, kind of insinuating that Will's a Nepo baby who doesn't have to face consequences. Carlton, here's a mirror. It's not the mirror that you looked in the rearview mirror that you saw yourself in right before you did that coke. You should look at that and just kind of sit with the idea that you too have not really faced a lot of consequences for what you have done. You were able to go to rehab, and that's something that's not afforded to everyone. You're able to get a job that oftentimes people who use drugs are not able to do because of their reputation. You're even in this program with Will, creating Black Access. All these things that you have access to due to your rich and affluent dad. So for you to throw that at Will, like, oh yeah, you just a street thug and my dad's gonna clean up your messes. I'm thinking, aren't they cleaning up yours too?
Yeah, and he talked shit on Will's dad, and
worse.
And Carlton. I was like, sir, you're getting to go to Princeton. I don't want to hear this from you. Like your dream school is back on now, okay? And thankfully, Amira's still here. Nothing has happened, but he kept all that energy for him. What was interesting though, and I think this kind of helped patch them up, is that we did see the moment where, because he was trying to contact Amira a bunch, and the parents were like, she good. She doesn't need you right now. And then he went to leave flowers at their house, and he mentions, I know this is a tough time of year for her. And mom's like, why? It's like, because her sister died. This anniversary of the sister's death. And mom's like, yeah, she don't got siblings. He has no sister.
I was at home fist pumping. I was like, I knew it.
You called it.
Can be trusted. There is no sister.
Yeah.
Good. He needed to find out. He needed to find out just like this, because he was so far up Amira's ass in this episode or even this season that nobody else could have told him this and he would have believed it. Like, it had to hit just like this, right? Where he has to sit with Amira's an addict. She has been an addict for a long time, and she's been lying to you. Everybody else is not out to get you. This is not necessarily Will's fault, even though you're trying to make it Will's fault. This is your fault. It's you and Amira's fault. Amira is grown. She's made choices, or she's not grown, but she's made grown-up choices, and she's ended up in a situation that she's addicted to painkillers. She got in a car accident, and then she got addicted, and then from there, she's been abusing drugs. She's gone to rehab, but she's not taking it seriously. When you go to rehab and they tell you, do not get in a relationship immediately after leaving rehab, she was in a relationship before leaving rehab. So she's definitely made choices that led her to this position, but Carlton has too. Before him and Amira even got good together, everyone kept saying, this is not a good look. This is not a good idea. And yet here we are, you trying to blame everybody else for your problems.
Yeah, the red flags were not present to him because of the impression that everyone else had given him about her. In that, because he thinks that none of them like her, he's not taking any of their criticism because you don't know her like I know her. So it took her mom to be like, she lied about this. It's a pretty big lie. She liked to cover something. And that's when I think it hits him of like, oh, I didn't see the signs.
Yeah. And it almost seems like Carlton was about to fall off the wagon again. We see Connor is here, and Carlton has turned to his old faithful drug dealer, Pooya.
And Connor, a legend? Question mark?
A legend. Yeah, an icon. Connor said, hey, drugs are bad. Crack is whack. Don't do drugs. Kiddos.
Like, I got the plug, but I'm not your connect. Get out of here.
Not for you. Not for you. It's bad when your drug dealer got to tell you, like, hey, you're
cut off.
Yourself. I'm cutting you off, man. He didn't want to be the reason Carlton fell off the wagon again.
Which I respect. I feel like that is not an easy thing to do, especially like I think the moment that really made it clear was when he asked Carlton, how long has it been? 72 days. Like, oh, well, you're not breaking it here today. I'm not going to be an accomplice to this habit. No. Yeah, Carlton, the king of taking accountability, is definitely going to blame this on Connor if it happens, right? He's like, well, Connor gave me the drugs. Like, all right, Carlton. He's going to be like, oh, I'm getting shade for using cocaine after my girlfriend nearly died. You're not going to talk about Connor, who sold me the drugs? I'm the victim. Yeah. I'm the enemy.
Yeah. Carlton knew what he was about to do, and Connor saw straight through it. Was like, nah, you got it. Figure out your own drugs. And so Carlton did. He had a nice little paper bag. There was a moment where
like a food bag, right? It was like a burger bag. I felt like
it's like he kind of got the Coke through the drive-through window. That's kind of how it felt. And so he's about to do a little bit. He looked in the mirror, had a couple moments where he saw Will. He thought he saw Aunt Viv a couple times. Like his conscience started to like really speak up. And eventually he does get rid of the drugs and kind of has to just fight that battle on his own. He's very proud of himself. He tells his family about it later on. And so I was happy for Carlton, but I was even happier that Amira is going to be far, far, far away from this family, because I just don't like her. I don't care about the addiction. Just all things aside, I just thought she was too comfortable, way too comfortable.
Oh, yeah, she's being shipped off to Boston, right? By the sounds of it. So she's going to be going into a program there. And it seemed like when they were doing their final goodbyes with her, that she's fully patched things up with Will. She's fully patched things up with Lisa. I think she is very much a part of their inner circle in a way when she comes back. Now, the show has an opportunity to just keep her written off. Like she's in Boston for all of next season. And I think I'd be fine with it too.
That's okay. She can go. It's fine.
Yeah.
We've done enough.
I kind of feel like I want a single Carlton who's trying to slide in the DMs again, because that was fun. Whereas all loved up Carlton is not doing as much excitement for me. And so I want to see what the snitch has in his arsenal a little bit.
Yeah. Let's get back to grimy Carlton days. Not the like we want to punch him grimy days, but definitely the days where Carlton is moving on his own and he's not necessarily tied to this love story that is also tied to his addiction.
Yeah, like everyone can't have like everyone by the end of the season, everyone has a relationship. We need somebody to not have one. And I think that person should be Carlton.
Yeah, well, it might end up being Ashley because we see that Ashley and Eli, they both like each other. They've admitted to liking each other, and she doesn't want to hide it anymore. Ashley says, I can like who I want to like, and I'm tired of keeping a secret. Hillary's not keeping secrets anymore, so they might be the ones to try to make their relationship official. We see them holding hands, but honestly, the family's shutting this down the first chance they get. Ashley, you are too young in this household, at least, to be having full-on relationships. She's not that far off from whenever Carlton and Lisa probably started dating, though. So I don't know. Maybe she's not.
I feel like they'll probably be okay with it, but they'll say, okay, but Eli can't just come hang out in your room and on your bed anymore, which makes a lot of sense given that they were setting that up for no dating and no dating in the house. And she's like, but we're not dating. Like, okay, cool. So now they're going to be like, no more.
Yeah, they do make a really good point of just taking their eye off of Ashley a little too much. With Carlton, he gave them the same speech. Carlton, you shouldn't be dating. No, we're just friends. They said, okay. It's like, no, that's not how this works. Your kids are lying to you. They're constantly lying to you because that's what kids do. Not all kids are going to lie all the time, but you got to watch them. And so Ashley's going to say whatever it takes to get the smoke off of her. But back behind the scenes, when no one's watching, I think Ashley has a them friend in Eli.
Yeah. I think I could see this relationship being a bigger part of Ashley's story. I can't even say bigger part of the story because this is the third season and this is the most Ashley has gotten throughout 3 seasons.
Right. Because this would be Ashley's freshman year in high school.
That's what they said. Yeah. She's about to start freshman year.
Yeah. I mean, they can get into a lot more drama for Ashley, but there's no way that Ashley's going to be the focal point of anything that really matters, I guess, as a freshman in high school, unless they really manufacture some drama.
Yeah. Do you remember in Fresh Prince when Ashley started school at the academy and everyone was like hovered around her and they were all like foaming at the mouth only to realize that it's his baby sister?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What a time.
Oh, God. That definitely can't happen. Oh, but I think that would be fun. I
feel like the direction they could get, if they're going to do a storyline similar to that, is that Ashley starts getting involved in the music scene and has like a bit of a raunchy style for her music. And that could lead to the similar storyline, maybe.
Raunchy style. She'll be Ashley the Stallion.
I hope not. Ashley, no, please. Please.
That would be hilarious if Ashley drops it. Well, Ashley's music already dark and broody. I think that if they can, if she moves it to like stripper rap, that would be hilarious. But also, Uncle Phil will blow up. Like he will legit like just fall apart,
implode.
Yeah. Or they'll just leave him there and then they'll come back and he'll be dead like Lamarcus. Trevor Alton. His middle name is Trevor, Pooya. How do we make it this far into this podcast without talking about it?
They really tried to sandwich it in there because when they were doing the vows and he's like, Lamarcus, Trevor, I was like, oh no,
he's dead.
He's Trevor.
He's gone. I said, he's gone, man. He's cooked.
And then I thought, is he about to have a heart attack at the altar? Okay, no. Oh wow, they're married. Okay, they married. Cool. And then at the honeymoon, Chappell, at the honeymoon, one more mimosa did the trick.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I love this so much because when I saw his name was Trevor in my notes, I said, oh, he's doomed. He's done. Because we've been forecasting the Trevor-esque death of Lamarcus since the moment we saw him. We said, is this Trevor? And to just slip in that his name is actually Trevor, I was like, that's the kiss of death. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, boom, we found our Trevor. He's going to die, but how? And I started thinking maybe next season he dies early on and we deal with Hillary kind of grieving that. But killing him in this season, I think was a perfect move because now we can focus on Hillary and Jazz. Throughout this episode, we really saw that there's a lot of chemistry, a lot of love between the two of them, but unfortunately, Hillary loves someone else. Now that person is gone, and I think the doors are wide open for Jazz to just come on and step through.
And Jazz kind of handled it, quote unquote, in the classy way where he didn't, because when they were like, does anybody object? And everyone looked, I was like, oh my God, Jazz is about to roll up in here and just start talking. Nope. He respected her wishes. He let go the person he loves for her happiness. And now her husband died. So, wow. Yeah, this is wild, dude, because I feel like I agree with you. They made the right choice just doing it now, because this entire episode 10 was from the perspective of this wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And then they immediately wrapped it up and we moved on. Because the other side of the coin was, well, what happens with Hillary's story once she's married? Like, where does she go from there? Because a lot of her story this season was Lamarcus or Jazz. It was not her individual like storyline. We lost all of that, I feel like. Ivy's kind of the reminder of what used to be. And now I think we're going to move back into her career. Because also a lot of her like social media storyline was, well, you're Lamarcus's trophy wife. So let's focus on that. That's all gone now. So where do we go? I'm very happy because, listen, one of the appeals of Bel-Air was that they're clearly taking some stuff from the source material, but I could not have predicted this. I was gobsmacked when his middle name was revealed to be Trevor. I was like, oh, rest in peace, my new friend.
Yeah, that was one of those if you know moments. It was like, his name is Trevor. And so everybody's at home, like that Leonardo DiCaprio gif, like, oh, look, it's him. That's what they said, you know?
Oh my God.
It was perfect. It was a perfect reveal. I loved every second of it, especially because I felt like the beginning of the season really highlighted the idea that Lamarcus could die from playing football at any time, right?
Yeah.
We found out about this condition. He should not be playing football. And then after Hillary kisses Jazz, he goes to the hospital. We never talk about the idea that Lamarcus is about to marry Hillary and then go back to playing football again, which is so dangerous. This way, he doesn't even make it to the football field again, because we're reminded that that condition meant that he could die at any time if he didn't get the proper help. And so here he is. It happened. He died. And I'm happy that they kind of wrapped that storyline up as opposed to just like bringing it up and letting it go because they hadn't talked about it for so long. But I'm also happy that you're right. Now Hillary's from under that storyline, you know, and she can start to move on. Now, don't get me wrong, we're going to have to deal with a lot of crying Hillary next season, you know. It's
at least the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, it's going to be bad, but I do think she can come from this. Now, what did you think about these 2 episodes being focused on Hillary and Jazz's journey as well? Because Hillary goes to get closure from Jazz. They spend the day together. It doesn't look like they did anything sexual, but
he joked about it too. He's like, all right, we doing this? She's like, whoa, stop. That's not what we're doing.
We're just on a date.
Closure. It was kind of like closure of like them having the chemistry. It felt like.
Do you think closure is important for a relationship that's ended?
I think it depends on the relationship. I think it depends on how close the 2 of you were. I think it also depends on how much in your ecosystem they are. Like Hillary's in his world no matter what, especially because he's good friends with Will. So I feel like from that regard, yes. But if this is a relationship that went very sour and like they did things, you did things, I think sometimes you don't need closure in that situation. But if one of you feels like, or both of you feels like there was some stuff left on the table, then yes.
See, I like that they talked about the idea of closure, but I don't think that's what happened between them anyway. It felt like they went on a long date. And then at the end of it, because I think Hillary said, I think we just need to get each other out of each other's systems. And by the end of it, I don't know if that is what was accomplished. You know, Hillary now felt okay going to get married, it seems, but she left her ring behind. So obviously her head wasn't in the game if her ring came off and ended up in Jazz's shoe. And then when Jazz is faced with the opportunity to bring the ring, he even says, you know, if I pawned this, all my problems would go away. And he's not wrong. Not only would he have $100,000 to do whatever he wants to do with his business, but Hillary would have to own up to the idea that she was laid up over there with Jazz instead of getting ready for her wedding. And maybe, just maybe, the 2 of them could be together. And so I felt like they said closure, but it wasn't really no closure.
Yeah, I feel like all that did, I think it was closure for one of them, not both of them. I think for Hillary, she was like, all right, that was amazing, but on to my new life. And for Jazz, it was, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot for letting this go. And now it's more proof that I was an idiot. The minute episode 10 started and she couldn't find a ring, I was like, it's in Jazz's house. I don't know where in that house, but it's in Jazz's place for sure.
Yeah. It actually took a minute for me to realize that was coming because I was like, oh, she lost her ring. I said, see, this is her like finding reasons to sabotage this. But nope, she had already sabotaged it the episode
Yeah.
before when she left the ring over there.
Well, rest in peace, Trevor, who gone very quickly. But Chappell, sometimes when a Trevor leaves, a Nikki has to come in.
Pooya. Aunt Viv is pregnant.
Yeah. When she said she was feeling a little sick, I was like, oh, here comes baby Nikki.
Oh my God. What are we doing? What are we doing, Bel-Air? Are we really doing this? What's happening? Because Aunt Viv, we know her and Uncle Phil have been talking about how much, they're so happy to get the kids out of the house. Now they can start focusing on their marriage. Empty nesting, not worried about Carlton as much, not worried about Hillary as much. Ashley is getting older. They're preparing for the exit. But now that they have started doing the sex again, I guess they just weren't as careful as they should have been. And here we are. Nicholas, Andrew, Michael, Sean, Nathan, Wanye Banks is on the way.
I forgot how long his name was.
Yeah. Nikki is named after all the members of Boyz II Men. Yeah. That's where you get Nicholas, Andrew, Michael, Sean, Nathan, Wanye. And so Nikki's coming. Surely. I don't know how I feel about this. We're gonna have pregnant Aunt Viv. Because we never really got baby Nikki on the Fresh Prince. Somehow Nikki just aged up into like a 5-year-old all of a sudden. Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have pregnant Aunt Viv most likely for all of season 4, and then if we get a season 5, baby Nikki will be there. But baby Nikki will probably just be a baby. Like, I don't think, how far are we gonna accelerate? But actually, I take that back, Chappell, because now I see the vision. They could easily time jump after next year because next year is senior year.
Oh, okay.
If they so choose, they can time jump them through college or time jump them through a couple of years of college to kind of get them where they need them to go. Because with Carlton going to Princeton and Will going to somewhere else, you're not going to have the whole family together.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
I wonder if they could time jump just to like the end of senior year. Because I'm not really interested in Will and Carlton applying for colleges. Yeah, I don't care. But if you can get to the end of that. Yeah, if you can get to the end, like they're preparing for graduation, maybe,
they can't, Chappell, because Will is abducted right now. Like, we have to see how that pays off.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting a time jump. I think
no. I was saying for maybe the bridge between 4 and 5, I could see the time jump, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'll be 6 years from now, so we'll see. But our own time jump here on Bel-Air.
We're gonna be time jump. I'll be 40 talking about this.
Basically. You're right. We haven't talked about this at all. Will is abducted. Jeffrey had been being followed throughout, and the same SUV that was following Jeffrey has now kidnapped Will, and who knows where these evil Brits are going to take him, because old school Jeffrey is still lurking around somewhere. We didn't see him, but he's around.
He's for sure around. Man, that was probably the saddest recognition I had this episode, was when Jeffrey walked up and they started doing the family photos. Every time he ad-libbed something about somebody, I was like, don't leave. I know what you're doing. You're about to dip out on everybody. Because we saw in episode 9 that Penelope, shady Penelope, nearly gave him up. Chappell nearly gave him up to these Brits because the deal didn't go through. The deal fell through. They didn't like the deal. They took the money and said, no.
You called it. You said it after we watched that episode. You said, are they even going to go for this? And I was thinking, well, why not? He gave him stacks and stacks of money, but there's nothing like having Jeffrey working for you, I guess. Like, you got to get him back in the game. He's a bad man.
I'm telling you, that handshake, the double Jeffrey handshake, really felt like it wasn't going to go through. He is a bad man. He's a bad man. And I'm so sad, dude, because he ends up, first of all, Frederick's stupid. Okay, Frederick's out here getting his ass beat on the streets because he has to roll dice and swindle people out of money. I don't know why. Like,
it's in his DNA. He said apparently. It's in the blood. It's in the blood.
What a problem child.
Let's hear Frederick out. Frederick has
Oh,
grown.
now you're on his side? You
No,
menace?
he's evil,
Okay.
and I need everybody to know about it. That's my issue here is that Frederick is not getting the smoke he deserves. But let's hear
Okay.
from his point of view. He has found out that the dad that he thought didn't care about him or whatever is basically the baddest man who ever existed, right? He found out about this crime syndicate that he's now been a part of and exited. If you watching Jeffrey at any point, that you know that he's just not one to be trifled with.
Mhm.
Jeffrey, we're the biggest Jeffrey fans on the internet, on any podcast ever. If you told me I could be more like my dad and my dad is Jeffrey, I could see myself doing a little gambling on the street, doing some street stuff every now and then, you know, trying to ease into that lifestyle.
But I think I think I would have thought about it enough to realize, you know what? I don't think I could do the bad man stuff, but I can look good in a suit. I can walk around doing a security detail like that. I can do.
Yeah.
You know, sit me behind a computer to watch the security footage. I'm there all day.
Jeffrey's so bad that the Brits have come all the way to the United States to get him. Okay.
Mhm.
They're like, we need you at work. That's a different level of bad. You know, like he's so bad. They're like, nah, you're too good at your job to go on the straight and narrow. You got to be evil like the rest of us. So I don't know. If I'm Frederick, I'm like, man, my dad kind of dope. I could, and then I think also if Jeffrey checks him on it, I think that would embolden him even more to be more like Jeffrey. Because he's like, if I could stand up to my dad, who is Jeffrey, I mean, boy, these people on the streets ain't gonna be able to mess with me. These Americans ain't ready for the Brit. You know, I don't know. I kind of see where he's coming from, but I also think this is his fault. I think that whatever just happened to Will, Frederick set it up, and I don't think anybody can tell me different, because ever since the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I knew not to trust this Frederick man, and we just didn't have enough smoke for him this season for my liking.
I guess the number one question for me then is, do you think we see this British contingent back again? Do you think we see
easy
Jeffrey, Penelope, Frederick, all three, 1, 2?
Yeah, gotta be right. Because we were talking about a time jump, but if Will gets kidnapped today, Jeffrey's on the case tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that Jeffrey, he's got him tracked. You know, like there's like a tracker in his ear. He's got a bugged, you know, he says he's leaving Uncle Phil, like, hey, I'm gonna let you and your family handle it. I don't think y'all need me anymore. I've done my part, blah, blah, blah. But when it's time to break glass in case of emergency, who you gonna call?
Jeffrey.
Every time. So I don't know. I don't think we're gonna lose any time with Jeffrey. I don't think Uncle Phil tries to do this without Jeffrey. I love that these 2 episodes really did highlight the friendship that Uncle Phil and Jeffrey have, because these last 2 seasons have been a little tumultuous. We've seen Jeffrey really focusing on Frederick. We've seen Uncle Phil and Jeffrey pretty much at odds. Jeffrey basically got fired in season 3, essentially. But here, several times over throughout the season, but definitely in these last 2 episodes, we saw the 2 of them bonding and really talking about how, like, I got your back, you got my back. Look at the family. They're looking over the family as a pair, as a duo.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to have more Jeffrey for season 5. I don't think the show, or season 4, I don't think the show would just be the same without him.
No, we talked about the show wasn't the same when he was on cameo duty on season 2. No, do not do this. Huge mistake if you do. But also, had they not had the abduction, okay, because that you just simply cannot open season 4 without that being a main storyline now. Had they not done that, I would have been on this podcast convinced we're getting a Jeffrey spinoff. Convinced.
Oh, yeah.
I would have said we're getting the Jeffrey spinoff. It's going to be the bridge between the 2 seasons, and that's going to be following his saga of like hiding away from all these bad people, and then it's going to end with him solving the problem and coming back to Bel-Air. I would have been convinced that's what's going to happen. But with the abduction, you can't do that, because also, what is that story going to cover 48 hours? Because he's not been gone that long. So
yeah, they got to get right into it. But Jimmy, a king below, tweeting out, hey, a Jeffrey spinoff, blah, blah, blah. Like, we see the tweets, Jimmy. We see them, and we're here for
Jimmy
him.
is
Let us know.
Slick.
He knows what's up.
Out of character, he's slick too. He knows what he's doing. He's like fanning the flames a little bit. He knows what's up.
A Jeffrey spinoff where we see Jeffrey on a side quest to go get Will or something like that would be so dope. But we can't take the time away. If they don't already have it filmed, Pooya, we can't do that. We need to jump into season 4, really tackling the issue, because Will being gone obviously is going to put all the rest of these storylines at a halt.
Yeah. It's also interesting to me because, I still go back to that phone call that Will overheard. And I'm like, you're not going to convince me that was Penelope. That's got to
No.
be someone in this organization of some sort. But also the same people that abducted Will are the same people that beat up on Frederick. So I don't even think that's the case necessarily. But the show has definitely robbed us of Carlton pummeling Frederick a little bit. Just a couple punches. Just a
Gotta hit
couple
him.
1-2. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gotta happen. If anything will turn you to a life of crime, getting beat up by Carlton is one of those things. Like if I'm Jeffrey's son and I get beat up by Carlton, I'm like, all right, Dad, teach me the game. I gotta figure out something. Whatever skills Jeffrey got, I need those skills now because I can't just be getting bullied by people from Bel-Air Preparatory Academy or wherever their school they're at. Like you got to at that point really dive in. But I think whatever happened to Frederick with him getting beat up, I think at that point he probably turns in Will as like the sacrifice, right? And I'm thinking that that's probably where that comes from because it's just a little too cute that Frederick gets jumped, but Will is the one who gets kidnapped. When easily, I mean, they could just be looking for Frederick again.
Yeah. Oh, well, since when were we in a? All right, it's a 1-for-1. We're just gonna swap out this boy for this boy, and it'll be okay. Was it because he clearly knew of Jeffrey because he went to his apartment? Is that what it was? It had to have been, right?
Gotta be. And I guess Frederick and Jeffrey were gone by now, right? We had already seen Jeffrey's speech, his little letter that he wrote to Uncle Phil. So the apartment was cleared out. So maybe they just can't get to Frederick. So the next best option is one of the Banks kids or Will. And Will, just like you said, was leaving the apartment. He went there. Jeffrey's stuff was all gone. It was completely empty. So it's just not like it happened so quickly, right? It happened enough time for him to get moved out. So I think they've probably just been waiting on the perfect bait. Somebody's going to come looking for Jeffrey. Do you think Jeffrey actually was able to get out and move away and he's just sitting across the pond, or maybe they already have him?
No. They don't have Jeffrey. So far, literally, Jeffrey is always one step ahead, so much so that when him and Penelope were walking, he's like, all right, we have 10 seconds. You're going to let them take me or you want to come with me? Like, what are we doing? And he called his shot that they were about to abduct him because he clocked that car was following them. You can't slip one past this man.
And not only did he clock that the SUV was following them, he knew that Penelope had something to do with it. He wasn't like, look, don't look, but we got somebody following us. He's like, now what did you do?
Exactly.
Why is this happening? And she had to admit that the people want Jeffrey so bad that, they're willing to, come and kidnap him if necessary. So I just feel like if Penelope was able to sell Jeffrey out to save Frederick would probably be able to sell Will out to save him. And so maybe that's why. But again, I'm completely biased when it comes to Frederick. I've hated him since the moment we saw him the first time in season 3, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all.
I agree. I feel like there's a world where, Will is the bargaining chip to get Jeffrey back on side, right? He's like, oh, Jeffrey ran away. Well, you got to come back for Will unless you don't care. And that's how he comes back and somehow puts them to bed. Because, again, give me my Jeffrey. You cannot just get rid of Jeffrey like this. No way.
Yeah. And Will has to come back too because he's the main character. So we know Will's coming back and we're going to need Jeffrey to go get him. That makes total sense. Maybe that opens the door for maybe later on Jeffrey spinoff. We'll just have to see what happens with that. But also we got to see Vi, Will's mom, in these episodes as well. She comes to the wedding and she has a new boyfriend, Gerald, or is it Jimmy? Or is it Jim? I don't know. It just depends on what Will feels like calling him. He seems very protective over his mom dating people.
And apparently she's been dating.
Yeah, Gerald wild for that. So Gerald and Will are talking and Will says, hey, I just want to make sure you understand that, I love my mom and I'm never going to let anybody hurt her and you better take care of her. And I need to know your intentions, giving him the protective older brother or whatever vibes that he's trying to, put between Gerald and his mom. And Gerald says something to the effect of, oh yeah, well, your mom gets a lot of attention, so I'm just happy I finally got a chance to shoot my shot. And Will said, what does that mean? And I said the same thing. I was like, wait, Gerald, what did you just insinuate? What's going on? Because Gerald says, you need to talk to your mama. And I was thinking, Well,
Like,
about what?
you didn't need to bring all this up. Just say, yes, I like her and I intend on, taking care of her. You didn't need to add like, yeah, she held the Bachelor Philly and I ended up being the winner. Like, that didn't need to be a part of this. You didn't need to say all that.
He said the line was long as hell, but finally she got to me. And I'm just like, man, Will is not going to go for that. It didn't seem to amount to anything. We see Vi and Will dancing it out at the wedding. And I thought this was a pretty cool moment because, the show reminds us all the time that Will and Vi were extremely close, but we don't see them talk as much as we used to. In season 1, he's like always FaceTiming and texting and calling, but now he's starting to get his roots a little bit in Bel-Air. And I'm actually starting to question, we talk about where Will could go to college or what happens after this, but is there any appeal to Will potentially going back to Philly once he's done here in Bel-Air? I just don't see it.
I don't know. I feel like at this point, Bel-Air has more and more become his home in this short amount of time. Like, not only initially it was like, okay, I have my family, I have Jazz. That's about it. And now, and then it became, well, I have family, I have Jazz, I have Lisa. Oh, I don't have Lisa, but I have Jackie. I've got basketball. Okay. And then this season is like, okay, I don't have basketball. Jackie's a friend. I have Lisa. I have Jazz. I have the family. I have Black Cess. I'm working on this community project to prevent gentrification. I'm now part of this community as well. My mom's visiting me frequently. Like, it's become more of like, he's built his ecosystem now. And now once he's putting roots down here as a soon to be young adult, I feel like it's going to be a lot harder for him to just switch up and leave everything here, especially when he's establishing this relationships as he's about to embark on the next chapter with like college and stuff coming up.
Yeah, and he's living a lot of experiences that he probably wouldn't have got to have if he was still in Philly, right? Even him being in Hillary's wedding, he's one of the groomsmen and he's standing next to his favorite wide receiver from the NFL, DK Metcalf. So it's like, I was like, wait, what was that really him? And it was. And so I was like, dang, Will is getting to live out some of these experiences that, prior to him moving to Bel-Air probably weren't that realistic. Even this partnership, like you brought up with Black Cess, meeting Quentin and having somebody with that much influence and affluence in his life, you're like, okay, I might be able to see this going somewhere for Will. And so going back to Philly, it's seeming like more and more of a stretch for our main character.
I agree. I think at best it will be a family visit, maybe a Thanksgiving in Philly or a Christmas in Philly if we're following through the academic year for this season. I think we could see we're going back to Philly for a little bit, for like an episode, because also, where's Trey? Are we ever going to see Trey? Is Trey just gone?
Yeah. Who knows? We haven't seen him in so long. And I don't like for Will to forget, the people back in Philly as well. Like, I love that we see his mom, but yeah, bring us some more Philly back to Bel-Air or some more, trips across the country to go and, just show him, the life that he had so that he still appreciates it. Because the Black says, although it sounds like it would be great in Bel-Air, I'm sure it could do a lot of good in a place like Philly, or these more predominantly Black like areas and neighborhoods. Like, if this is supposed to be helping uplift Black people, it's not necessarily confined to Bel-Air. You could definitely take this to Philly.
100%.
We also got a cameo from Andra Day. She's the one who ends up singing at Hillary's wedding. And she's the star of the movie The Deliverance, which is the #1 movie on Netflix.
How topical.
Yeah, we just talked about it here on Recap Kickback. So if you are not checking out our other coverage, check out Ty, Mari, and myself talking about The Deliverance and our reactions to the movie here on Recap Kickback. We dropped that this week. So I was very happy to see that as well. But about people who we didn't really see in this episode, where was Jackie? Are we done with Jackie?
What else is there with Jackie, right? Like, the whole thing with Lisa is like patched up, even though it was kind of for Will's sake. That's patched up, but also Will has a perspective there. What was the name of their friend they made at the country club that brought Jackie? Zaire,
yeah.
I think they're going to be a thing. But beyond that, I don't have much else, because now we're definitely going to start the next season with school being back on, right? We're going to have the country club chapter closing down. He's going to be back at Bel-Air Academy. If he doesn't go back to basketball was a Zenith, then how is Jackie in the picture outside of like Aunt Viv helping her out with something, or her and Lisa somehow becoming best friends? I feel like there's not many avenues for Jackie to go from here.
Agreed. We saw Jamal Hill appear in this episode as well. Paralympian Jamal Hill. He links up with Lisa. They have a good conversation because she's looking for a sign as to what her next move is. Should she be diving into this swimming thing, for no pun intended, or if there's something else should she be focusing her energy on? And I think her conversation with a Paralympian really does put that into perspective. And she said, all right, this must be a sign. She wished on a double rainbow. And next thing you know, she's talking to somebody who has competed in multiple Olympic Games. And so now it does look like Lisa needs to get her head in the game. But I have said this once, and I'll say it again. This season, if it was about Lisa trying to make nationals, she did not attempt. She was so caught up in the Amira of it all, helping raising her little brother and potentially her stepmom's postpartum depression, that she didn't really get to focus on sports as much as she said she would in episode 1.
Well, yes, but then we did see the development of that with Aunt Viv literally giving a helping hand of like, I have resources. If you need help there, I'm always here to help or however I can. And by the end of the season, he's like, you know what? I'll take you up on that. Initially, he's like, get out of my office. You do not know my family. And then now it's like, you know what? Yep, you're right. All right, I would like to see those resources, and I will take all the help I can get. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I forgot how much I hated her dad until these last couple episodes. I was
took one episode to be like, oh yeah, that's why I'm happy you're gone.
Yeah, I hate that guy. Pooya, did you have a favorite part of this episode or these episodes?
Oh God, it's hard to just pick one favorite scene, but I feel like, I mean, for me personally, I think it was hearing the word Trevor get mentioned.
Yeah,
that was like I'm watching the show. Maybe I'm spacing out a little bit. I was back online after that. That was huge. So I think for me personally, it would be that spot.
Mine has to do with Trevor as well, but it's more when he finds out about Hillary and Jazz. He actually walks in and sees Jazz and Hillary hugging. He's like, why is he here? And Hillary is forced to finally face the music and stop lying and just say, hey, okay, here's what happened. So she talks about how she was going to, how she kissed Jazz, how she did the whole closure thing, and how she was going to tell Lamarcus, but she just didn't. And he takes off and leaves. And it takes Hillary's maid of honor and one of Lamarcus's groomsmen to get him back to on board with even hearing Hillary out. But the conversation between Ashley, Will, and Lamarcus, when they're sitting on the bench, and Will says, personally, I like Jazz better than you.
That was so funny.
For him. And Ashley said, yeah, it was actually the worst day of my life when I found out.
I wrote a song about it.
I died because they both came around, but they had to make sure he knew, okay, this is a pro-Jazz household. And so that's how I know Hillary and Jazz, whether we like it or not, I don't care what sides of the fence you are on with this one, that's happening. That's happening, and it's probably happening next season.
It is, because I think he's going to be there for her. He's going to give her the space. Like, he's going to be a gentleman about it, is the vibe I'm getting. And like, remember, Jazz's biggest red flag was that he was doing the, I can't handle my girlfriend being more successful than me, so I'm going to be a dick about it. That was his biggest offense. But the love was always there. Now that he's realized that doesn't matter, or hopefully he realizes that doesn't matter. Hopefully, who knows? He's a little bit proud that one. We could see where it goes, and I'd be very okay with it after the appropriate amount of time, since Lamarcus, aka Trevor, literally just died.
Yeah, but now that we've talked through it, and I'm kind of on the side of there will be no time jump because we got to get Will back. We're going to see the immediate effects of the death of Lamarcus, right? Like, we're going to see Hillary making that phone call probably, or Jazz finding out from Carlton or something that Will is missing, or that, somehow this is going to get to Jazz very early on. It's not going to be something where we see, months have gone by and now he's okay with it, or he's giving her a time. We're going to see Jazz probably fighting with this back and forth with the death of Lamarcus for a while. And we might even see Hillary, because we know that she might have been in love with Lamarcus, but I think she's in love with Jazz too. You can be in love with two people at once.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I would love to see how that works out next season as well, just because, again, we're going to have to watch the will they, won't they? And it's going to be laced with a little Cedric Diggory just died. Why are you kissing me? Why are you crying? Kind of situation, you know? So this could be fun, but it's also going to be dark and twisty like most seasons of Bel-Air have been. Regardless, I'm excited. I'm excited, Pooya, about what could come and when that could come. We do not know when season 4 will be dropping, but if it does, hopefully we will be here to talk about it.
If it drops and we are both still podcasters, I think we'll be talking about it.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Whether it's 2026, 2030, who knows? Are we going to get Bel-Air before we get GTA 6? We'll find out.
We will be waiting forever, but we will be here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all that good stuff whenever the time comes. I just think they can't wait too much longer because Ashley's already 17 in real life. I just feel like this grown woman playing a 14-year-old is not going to fly.
Well, all these adults are playing 17-year-olds, so like we're already there.
We're pushing it. We are really pushing it with these people aging and maturing right before our eyes and also getting very famous. Coco Jones, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to have her for this lovely show. Because
didn't she do the national anthem yesterday? And the
she's
NFL
like
game?
A mega star, right? Yeah, Coco Jones is not messing around. And so it's just, I could see this like really blowing up for her. And not to say that they can't afford her no more, but you don't know. Maybe they can't. And so, yes, I am hoping that they bring season 4 very quickly, but you know, we will sit around and wait for the crumbs as we always do, because we do love the show and I'm very happy with the cliffhanger that we got. We will be back to see if Aunt Viv is going to bring us a little Nikki. We will see what happens with Trevor. Amira is far away. Will we get the return of her? Is Carlton writing a book or a screenplay about his life? There's so many questions being left unanswered right now that we have plenty of reason to come back. But until we do, Pooya, we got to find something else to talk about or something. I mean, this could be forever.
I'm game. I'm game. If people want to give us suggestions, we can hear them out. If you end up thinking there's a show out there for you and I to explore, let's do it. If I think of something, I'll let you know, because we did our little Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We have now gotten back to our Bel-Air gig.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Yeah, and I think that the Mr. and Mrs. Smith was very fun. If you haven't checked that out before, you can check it out on recapkickback.com. This is for all the Bel-Air post-show recaps listeners. We're on recapkickback.com. You can go through the archives, check out our previous coverage of season 1 of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. There will be a season 2 as well, I believe, and so we definitely could come back for that. But Pooya has a lot of stuff going on in his world, and I'm sure you can find other Pooya content that meets your criteria. Until then, Pooya, tell everybody where they can find you, what you're working on.
Twitter at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. For podcasts, you can find me talking 90 Day Fiancé on a weekly basis. The Circle is coming back with a new season. I'll be talking about that as well. And live feed updates on Friday for Big Brother. If you're still watching Big Brother 26, that's where you can find me.
Yes, and Big Brother 26 has been a fun ride. Check it out over on the RHAP network. And then, of course, check out all the stuff that I have going on. Fight Night coming this week, whenever, with AJ. We'll be talking about it. Mari and Latanya and I will be talking about the last 2 parts of Hollywood Black. Ty and I will be bringing some content. Sasha and I have been working on some things. Spooky season is about a month away, and so we'll try to keep things fresh and scary for you around then. But in order to keep up with everything, you have to go to recapkickback.com/subscribe to make sure that you get all the updates of the podcast, or go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@recapkickback. Hit that subscribe button and get all the updates about what we're bringing here on Recap Kickback. And when we get more updates about Bel-Air, we will definitely talk about them here. But that said, Pooya, we got to go. Y'all got to go. But y'all definitely could catch us here next time when we talk about whatever it is when season 4 rolls around. Peace out, and thank you all for listening. Bye.